Hi from Tulum, Mexico. In this episode, we are going to talk about the King James Version and why it's a bad Bible. It just is. It just is. It's a bad Bible. And I'm going to prove it to you. And we're going to talk about how did King James come to the conclusion that he was going to create a Bible in the first place? What was the basis for the King James Bible, King James Version of the Bible? And why was King James absolutely obsessed? When I say obsessed, I mean obsessed with witches. Why? And that's not it. How are Barack Obama and George W. Bush related? And what does that have to do with this conversation? That's what we're talking about in this episode of The Real God Is Not in the Bible. Oh, hi. How you loving? How you loving? Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you were with me. I was live today on Instagram and also both on the Instagram Valerie Love and also on the Instagram Christian Witches. I'm in Tulum, Mexico. And oh, I need your humor and your wisdom. Thank you so much. It's my honor. It's my pleasure. It's what I do. It's why I'm here. Hey, Darla! How you loving? How you loving? How you loving? Come on in, everyone. Let's get down to business. You know how we do every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We are right here. Let's go on screen share. I've got so much to show you. Oh, I've got so much to show you in this conversation. Like, share, subscribe, all the things, baby. All the things. This is, I promise you, this episode is going to blow the lid off. Yes, I am a practicing Christian witch. I am Valerie Love, Reverend Valerie Love, founder of the Christian Witches Mystery School. We will be live in the Mystery School tonight. The Mystery School is on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You will find that I am teaching Introduction to Psychic Development for Christian Witches, and you can find that at christianwitches.com. Let me give you the link for that in case you want to hop into the Mystery School and join us tonight in our discussion in the Christian Witches Mystery School. Let me give you the link to Christian Witches. Hold on, I'm going to drop this link in the chat. So I'm Reverend Valerie Love. It was so good. So good meeting you. House King James was obsessed with witches if your title says that he was terrified? I don't get it. Oh, Angie, I'm going to help you get it. Trust me, Angie. He was both. He was obsessed and terrified. I'm a wordologist, and every word I select is by purpose. So I will show you how he was both obsessed and terrified and paranoid. That's the man that created the Bible that everybody wants to stick to and thinks it's the original Bible. No, it's not. All right. What is the purpose of this series? Because if you're brand new to this series, if you've never been here before, if you're brand new to my work and brand new to what I teach, all I am teaching, everything that I teach is for oneness and for peace, for us to come to oneness and understand the origins of the Bible, origins of humanity, and our true divine nature. And to understand that the Bible is not from God, the Bible is not a spiritual book, the Bible is not a sacred text, the Bible is not about God, the Bible was not inspired by God. I know these are shocking statements. That's why I invite you to this entire series that I just take it step by step. I just take it chunk by chunk to show you and the whole world, because many of you watching, you already know the deal, to show the whole world that the Bible is not from God, though billions of people still think that. It is not. And for anyone who wants to be free of the yoke of thinking that the Bible is from God, you can be free. You can be free. All right. I also want to know, before we get into King James, I also want to answer the question, what is a Christian witch? A person who understands and knows that there's no distinction between miracles and magic, or between Christianity and the pagan world and pagan occult practices that were rife in the world in which he was born, and that we seek to honor Christ or aspects of Christianity in our practice of witchcraft. It's an absolute knowing that the two are one. People said that they were two different things. I don't think there's any difference between miracles and magic. Really don't. No one has been yet able to prove to me unequivocally that there is a difference between miracles and magic. Not one. Let's talk about King James. Why was he so obsessed with witches, and how did it affect his Bible? Because we want to get to the bottom of, is the Bible from God? Should I follow the Bible? Is the Bible, uh, relevant in my life? What should I do with the Bible? Should I read the Bible? What does the Bible mean to me? And for all the Christian witches out there, the Christo pagans, the Trinitarian witches, Trinitarian Wiccans, Bible magicians, all of us who are in the occult world, it's so that you can stand on your square when you're talking to a Christian, because Christians try to bowl you over and they try to ram down your throat the Christian theology that they themselves have been brainwashed with and in, without providing proof or evidence of their claims. Let's talk about King James. So, who's King James? Like, we don't even know who this man is. We're supposed to be following his Bible. Who is this person? Right? These are questions I want to ask. Before you tell me that I have to follow this man and his book, who is this person? But no one ever asks that in church. They just make you get the King James Version and make you read it and make you wrong if you don't like it. Well, we're going to end that tonight because we have facts. We have history. It's just called read books, do research. That's all it's called. All right. So King James, he was born in 1566. Okay, he was born in Scotland. He died in 1625 in England, and he ruled Scotland from 1567 to 1625. So you can see that at a very, very young age, he took the throne. He was only 13 months old. I know. Back in the day, these people, you're the next in line. You are the king. You're born, and you're the king even at 13 months, and you don't know anything. You're not even a toddler, still an infant. But anyway, that's beside the point. We're not talking about, we're not talking about the validity of that whole system. We're just talking about, who is this man? Okay, so he became king of Scotland, 13 months, and king of England and Ireland as King James the First from 1603 to 1625. So what you want to remember is, okay, he was king of Scotland because he was the heir apparent, and his mother, Queen Mary of Scots, let's talk about his family. Queen Mary of Scots was his mother, and she had James by her second husband, Lord Darnley. Now, when he became king of Scotland, he wasn't king of England because Queen Elizabeth was queen in England. When he became king of Scotland, he was only 13 months old, right? They didn't want his mother to rule and so forth. So anyway, now he didn't become the king of England until 1603, after Queen Elizabeth died. And then he united England and Scotland under one monarchy, and it's still the same way. It's still the same way, unfortunately. Scotland is still like annexed to England. And a lot of times, I've been watching this story over the years. I've seen Scotland make a lot of moves to like disconnect themselves from England. It's never gone through. And I think now a lot of people in Scotland don't want to be separate from England, because I think they get a lot of benefits from being part of the British Empire, the UK. And so they don't want a separate, independent Scotland, independent of British rule. So some things still going on to this day between Scotland and England, and that's centuries old. Centuries old. Now let's talk about Queen Elizabeth, because this is very vital. I'm giving you this backstory because we've got to understand who King James is. We've got to understand his consciousness. We've got to understand, we've got to go back in history and put ourselves in his seat, sit in the throne of King James, so that we can understand what was going on with these people. Because many times we have a faulty view of the past because we are looking at it with a modern eye. And that is a grave mistake. We cannot understand the past by necessarily looking at it from our modern day standards. So we've got to go back in time about 500 or 600 years to understand, well, what were they doing in the 15 and 1600s? What were they doing? Because it's influencing you now. Your grandmama has a King James Version Bible. People all over churches have a King James Version Bible, and they think that's the Bible. They think the King James Version is the Bible. Couldn't be more wrong. Now, let's talk about King Henry. Now, why do we have to talk about King Henry? I'm going to come off screen share. And this is why we have to talk about King Henry. We haven't gotten to the Bible yet. And I'm going to tell you, we have to talk about King Henry. Now, why do we have to talk about King Henry? Baby, Angie, I got you. I got you. Okay, you're in your early 50s and you know, yeah, that's right, right. Okay, let's talk about, let me put the mystery school. If you'd like to join us in the mystery school, we'll be having this discussion live tonight. King Henry. Why do you have to understand King Henry to understand King James, to understand the bad Bible? Because King Henry, he was a hellion. He has 6 wives. Do y'all know the story of King Henry? Hey, Gina, how you loving? Do y'all know the story of King Henry? King Henry has 6 wives. And you might say, well, what does King Henry have to do with me? A lot. And I'll show you the connection, including Barack Obama. Baby, this rabbit hole goes deep. Okay. King Henry has 6 wives. He was married to Queen Catherine of Aragon, Spain. He's in England. She's from Spain. He, back then they would marry to make alliances, political alliances, which they still do. He didn't want to be married to Queen Catherine anymore because he found a new lover. Okay, and they say he was quite the ladies' man. So he finds this new lover, all right, Anne, and he can't marry Anne, and Anne won't give him no booty. Anne is like, we're not doing nothing until we're together, until we're husband and wife. Matter of fact, you can pull up Queen Henry's 6 wives. 2 of them, he just chopped their heads. 2 wives, he chopped their heads. 2. King Henry killed thousands of people, including 2 of his own 6 wives. This man was a hellion. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Now, he's related to King James, and we're going to look at the relationship in a moment. I want you to see the consciousness of these monarchs. I want you to understand King James may have been gay. That's a good question. I don't know because I didn't know him. He could have been gay for sure. Because we've always had gay people with us, so it's all good. I want you to understand what went into the making of King James. So you have this legendary figure, King Henry VIII, who is king in England. This is before James came around, before he ascends to the throne. So now, King Henry the eighth has three children. He has Edward, who is his only son, six wives. He couldn't have a son, couldn't have a son other than this one son. And this one son, he was just doting on this son. He just loved this son so much. He was just all over this son, right? This is my son. He's going to be my heir. But the son died young. So he only reigned for a short period of time. Then, after he reigned, was the next in line to reign, which was Queen Mary. Now, you may know Queen Mary from the club because in the bar, they have a drink named after her called Bloody Mary. Because Queen Mary was like her daddy, chopping heads and killing people that didn't want to be Catholic. Okay? Then you had Queen Elizabeth, which was the third one to take the throne. But Queen Elizabeth, remember the one that used to pat all the white powder all over herself and whatnot? Queen Elizabeth, she didn't want to get married. So she couldn't have any children. And she had lovers. And I think she had one lover in particular. But she said, I'm never going to have children. So she knew that she was never going to have children. So therefore, where was the dynasty going to go when the king, King Henry, one of the last Tudor kings, Tudor, which they had a bloody conflagration to become rulers in England. They had a war, the War of the Roses, right? Remember that? And King Henry became heir to the Tudor king. So his father, King Henry VII, was the great grandfather of King James. So they're from the same Tudor family. So because first it was King Henry, and I'm going to tell you what King Henry did with regard to religion that still affects people to this day. So do not think that the actions of these kings and queens are far removed from you and have nothing to do with you. That's not true. They have everything to do with us to this day. Okay, let's continue. Let's see what this says. Yes, I found sources that King James had relations with men, thus the Bible being more male dominant and women in a more subservient roles in the Bible. Interesting. Could be. Interesting. I don't know who King James was sleeping with. I don't remember. Yeah, you remember, Gina, that King Henry VIII has six wives. Two, he chopped the heads off because he thought they were sleeping with other people. Maybe they were. I don't know. That, oh, there's a mini series on Netflix about his encounters with men. Okay, King James. King James was doing his thing. Hey, live your life, King James. I ain't got no problem with you. What I do have a problem with is people telling me I need to use the King James version of the Bible. That's what I have an issue with. I don't have an issue with who you want to sleep with, do whatever you like, baby. That's your life. But once you come encroaching upon my life, now we have an issue because I have good boundaries. Okay? So, what did King Henry do? King Henry VIII, that was absolutely earth shattering. He broke with the Catholic Church. Okay? So, let's go back before King Henry VIII. Catholic Church ruled everything. You know, the Holy Roman Empire, known as the Catholic Church, to this day, the Holy Roman Empire is still with us. It's called the Catholic, it's called the Vatican. It's got its own country. When you go to the Vatican, hey, live your life, baby. Whatever you want to do. I only care about the sex I'm having. I don't care about the sex other people are having, as long as they're not involving minors and little kids and all that. Hey, baby, all consenting adults have at it. Make it good. But don't tell me I got to use your Bible. Now that's where I have a divide. You gonna live your life over there. I'm gonna live my life over here. Okay, don't come in my lane telling me what to do. So King Henry got rid of the Pope. Why? Why did King Henry VIII get rid of the Pope? He was like, the Pope ain't going to tell us what to do over here in England because the Pope ruled everything. The Pope ruled Italy, Spain, France, England. The Pope ruled everything. The Pope made the decisions for everybody. Do you understand the power of the Pope? The Pope ruled every. Don't think that the kings and queens were the rulers. No, they were not. The Pope was the ruler of them all. And so he said, okay, he wanted to get a divorce, but he couldn't get a divorce unless the Pope grants him a divorce from Catherine. He doesn't want to be married to Catherine anymore. Now, how did he get to be married to Catherine? That's also an interesting story because Catherine was married to another man and her husband died. I think it was the brother of King Henry or something like that. And then King Henry married her. So, but supposedly she was still a virgin because you know how they want you to be all pure and whatnot. I mean, these things are just crazy. All of this stuff is just, it's just insanity. And where did they get it all from? They got it from the Anunnaki. It's the same drama played out over and over and over again with these rulers that want to rule people, tell people what to do, and they are as crazy as a bedbug behind closed doors. Those rulers, crazy as as you and me, okay? Crazy as you and me behind closed doors. I mean, everybody's got a little bit of crazy. I got my own brand of crazy. Yes, I'm not trying to rule an entire continent of people and enforcing my crazy and chop the head. Oh God, we all get. Sorry, I gotta chop your head because he said so. What? If the king said it, that was it. If the king said, chop your head is chopped. No one was gonna say, excuse me, that would have been me. My head would have been chopped real fast. Excuse me, I don't think it's a good idea to be chopping all these people's heads. Oh my goodness. Why are we chopping all these heads? Can we talk about it? Okay. So, in order for King Henry, I promise you, I'm going to show you the connection between this and the King James version of the Bible. I'm going to show you the connection. King Henry, because he could not divorce his wife, Queen Catherine of Aragon, the Spanish queen, or the Spanish princess, she became queen when she married him, right? He sent his lawyers to the Pope to argue his case that the marriage wasn't valid in the first place because she wasn't a virgin. I thought she was a virgin. He was trying to get out of it so he could marry his lover. But no, 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 no. The see, the Pope had a vested interest in them staying together because the Pope is ruling everything. And the Pope knows that Queen Catherine is Catholic. You know, she's Catholic all the way. And the Pope also knows that King Henry VIII, he ain't Catholic all the way. You know, he's got some Protestant stuff going on. He's open. And they're like, no, 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 no Protestants. People are fighting over God. Okay, I want you to see what this Bible was birthed out of, the mess and the craziness and the absolute ludicrous nature of what they're fighting over. That's what this Bible was birthed out of. But let's go further. Okay, so, all right, so King Henry VIII cannot divorce his wife. So what does he do? Gets rid of the Pope. Let's go on screen share. He got rid of the Pope. He was like, you know what? Pope, I'm over it. I'm not going to be in the Catholic Church anymore. England is not part of the Catholic Church anymore. I'm going to make the Church of England. Gina, isn't this juicy? It is drama upon intrigue. One day I'm gonna make a movie about all this stuff because I'm gonna make a movie, the making of the King James version of the Bible, so that people can understand just how bad of a Bible it really was. Okay, let's continue. And I apologize if we have a lags here and there because I am in Mexico, in Tulum. It may or may not be an absolute as the best signal in this particular Airbnb. The signal is better at different places. I'm near the jungle. So, what is the connection of purity culture to the Anunnaki, if there is one? Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about what you mean by, oh, you're talking purity culture in the purity of the bloodline? Because they do have a lot of bloodline stuff going on here. Let's talk about it. Oh, the Broadway show Six is about the wives. Let me see what this says. And how they were mistreated. Wow. Now, I don't know if all of the movies, documentaries, and plays we see about the wives of King Henry, I don't know how accurate they are because they come from a lens of thinking that women were subjected to a patriarchy. And as the contrarian I am, it wasn't no such thing as as the patriarchy because some of them women was running King Henry up and down they was running him. So it wasn't like he just had his thumb on all six of these women. Obviously, they were doing things that he didn't want them to do. Obviously. So I'm not sold on this whole patriarchy thing. He had his, he had his thumb on all these women's neck. I don't buy that story because these women were running him ragged. The man died at 55 years old. I mean, and he was 400 pounds. He was super obese. He was sick. He couldn't have another son. He was devastated. He had a leg injury, he probably had gout. He had a big leg injury that didn't heal. Them women were running some stuff on him. Okay, King Henry. So let's go back on screen share and let's look at what did King Henry do that made it so powerful, and he paved the way for King James to do what he did. See, I want you to look at things from a long timeline. You can't just look at something from like 20 years. You got to go hundreds of years back, thousands of years back, hundreds of thousands of years back, and look at the whole picture, bird's eye view, to really put these puzzle pieces together because this is a very, what can I say, complex picture. The Bible itself is a very complex picture. Even Bible scholars don't all agree on many aspects of the Bible. All right, let's go on screen share and let's look at this. So, what did King Henry do? King Henry, being the badass that he was, I think he was a badass. He got rid of the Pope and the papal rule in England. And what did he do? He declared himself the supreme head of England. He established the Church of England. The Act of Supremacy, 1534, made him, he was like, I'm going to be the head of everything. I'm going to be the head of everything. There's nothing higher than me. And I'm the God of all of y'all now. Now, this is very important to understand and to realize. Why? Because this is going to pass on to some heirs. I'm the God of all of y'all. I'm the boss of all of y'all. Me, with no one to answer to. It's the divine right of kings. Right? Okay. Now, what happened? Well, his only son died early. His Catholic daughter, so we're going back and forth now, right? So King Henry VIII, he gets rid of the Catholics. He gets rid of all Catholic rule. They say he went through like a lot of villages and they were plundering like the Catholic monasteries, and they found a whole lot of gold, relics, high valuable things, even though the people living in the little parish were living like paupers. And the people that were in the monastery were doing very well, and they had big chests full of gold and yeah, and lots of land. But the people weren't living like that. The Pope and the bishops and the monk of the monastery, they were the ones holding the wealth. Because the Catholic Church to this day is about wealth. I just want you to know it's not about truth. It's about wealth and it's about control. Well, so King Henry, he's like, Church of England, get rid of the Catholics. Get rid of my old wife. I'm gonna get this new wife. And so he gave himself the permission to divorce his Catholic wife. And she was so devastated. And then, he gave her a nice little mansion somewhere. Just leave my mansion because I'm gonna now bring in my new lady, Anne. But he wound up chopping her head off. But anyway, the daughter. So King Henry VIII and Mary, the first wife, they had a daughter. Mary also. Her name was Mary. Mary was devoutly Catholic like her mother. So when King Henry died, and the only son he had died at a very early age, the next person in line of succession was Mary, who was the daughter from the first wife. She's Catholic. So she's now going to try to, just turn over everything her dad did. Like that man was crazy. We're not doing that. And kill like thousands of people. Well, she was like her dad with that. That's why they call her Bloody Mary. That's why we have a drink to this day from this queen. This woman burning people, chopping heads, thousands. Okay. And she was trying to get Catholicism back as the ruling head of England, but it didn't work because they didn't like her. Because by now you had the Protestants, you had Anglicans, you had Puritans, you had different people wanting to do different things. So it wasn't like everybody was just going to go back to all being Catholic. That wasn't going to happen. Well, after Queen Mary, next was Queen Elizabeth. And we know the famous Queen Elizabeth, who ruled for something like 50 years. She was Protestant. She was not Catholic. So she did not chop and kill all these people, thousands of people. She had a peaceful reign, and they said that during her reign, prosperity came, because that's what happens when people stop fighting. They actually can turn their attention to creativity, and especially you're fighting over God. I'm the ruler. No, I'm the ruler. No, I'm the ruler. Does that sound like God? Or does that sound like crazy humans? All right, let's look at something I found quite intriguing and why I'm inserting it here because it's connected. I promise you all this is connected. I'll show you in a moment. Barack Obama and George W. Bush are related. Now, when I first heard that years ago, I said, how is that possible? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what it has to do with it. Barack Obama and George W. Bush are distantly related through their shared ancestry on both sides of their families. Both mother and father, and both of them. Okay, this is deep. Both Barack Obama and George W. Bush are descendants of the same family line, specifically tied to the American colonial elite. Wait a minute. These colonial families that came over from England, okay, Obama and Bush are related through the family of Samuel Hinckley, a colonial New England ancestor who was a Puritan settler in Massachusetts in the 1600s. Samuel Hinckley is Obama's 9th great-grandfather and Bush's 10th great-grandfather. Obama is one generation closer to the family on the family tree than Bush. Here's their ancestor, Samuel Hinckley, An early New England settler was married to Sarah, who is probably the ancestor in common for both of the men. And I cannot tell you how many other presidents are related to this same family that is the colonial elites that were intermarrying, and those were the ones who became presidents in the United States, which means that the bloodline continues. It's a bloodline. And in America, we say, oh, we don't have a bloodline. It's whoever's qualified, whoever steps up and is president, except about 20 US presidents all came from they have the same ancestors. If you look at someone like Barack Obama and George W. Bush, who couldn't be more different, you mean they're related? That can't be an accident. So, what I'm telling you is that the Anunnaki brought here with them the idea of kingship, king and queen, and the idea that their heirs were going to become the next rulers. Humanity didn't have kingship before the Anunnaki. And when I say humanity, I do not mean humanity as we are currently known. What I am talking about are the groups of the hominids that were roaming the planet. There were no kings and queens before they got here. It was an unknown concept in the consciousness of the groups of hominids. Neanderthals didn't have it. Homo naledi didn't have it. They didn't have queens and kings. And then the king and the queen were going to have children, and then those children were going to be the queen and the king because our blood is better than everybody else. Do you understand that the human consciousness has been infected with that mind virus from the Anunnaki and their shenanigans? We didn't have that. And we have it to this day because there's still a bloodline in America, just like there's a bloodline still in England. And if you think this is a conspiracy theory, I'll just say this, that many of the presidents of the United States are related to colonial elite families and European elite families. Just look it up, because purportedly all these findings have been confirmed on ancestry.com and also have been confirmed by independent genealogists who have looked up the genealogy, traced it, of many American presidents. And you can have two American presidents more different than Barack Obama and George W. Bush, but they still come from the same two families, both on both sides. Both of them are related to these colonial elite families. That's not an accident, baby. That's not a coincidence. You would never be able to convince me that that's a coincidence. There is still a bloodline in place, firmly in place. Okay, let's continue. And I don't mean a bloodline as in, well, Barack Obama's son has to be, because Barack Obama doesn't have a son that we know of. We know he has two daughters, Sasha and Malia, but I don't know that he has a son. I can't say for sure he doesn't have a son. I don't know. From what we know of Barack Obama, what is publicly available information, I can't swear to it that Barack Obama doesn't have a son. We know that he has a wife, our forever FLOTUS, Michelle Obama, right? And he has two daughters, Sasha and Malia. Well, it's not like, okay, well, then Sasha has to be, Malia, who's older than Sasha, has to be the next ruler because she was the daughter of Barack Obama. It doesn't work like that, baby. It works even more behind the scenes than we would imagine. It works even more behind the scenes than he would imagine. So now let's go to King James. So I give you the background of having to know who King James was related to. So now follow this. King Henry dies, right? King Henry cut away from the Catholic Church. He swings all the way over. I'm the head of everything. I'm the head of the Church of England. Whatever I say goes. See, he sets a precedent. He's actually paving the way for King James to come in and do even more. King Henry VIII dies. His son dies shortly after he takes the throne. His daughter, Queen Mary, tries to get all of England back to Catholicism. It doesn't work. Queen Elizabeth cuts it with a Catholicism because Queen Elizabeth was into the occult. You know, she had John Dee as her occultist and magician. King Elizabeth was totally into magic. Totally. So Queen Elizabeth, and she ruled for a very long time, very long time. Queen Elizabeth probably really is the queen that made the British Empire a global empire. That was Queen Elizabeth, because this woman was shrewd from the time she was a kid. She was definitely smarter than her siblings. This one was shrewd. This one was calculating. So Queen Elizabeth, and back in those days, you couldn't stay a queen and king very long unless you knew how to outsmart your enemies or either get them on your side. Queen Elizabeth was the ultimate stateswoman. Queen Elizabeth met with a clan leader in Scotland, and the two women came together and they decided to make peace with England and with Scotland. I mean, Queen Elizabeth was a badass, and she was a Protestant, so she was not with the whole Catholic Church. After Queen Elizabeth died because she didn't have any children, here comes King James, who was already king over in Scotland, and he's the next Tudor because King Henry VII was his great grandfather or something like that. So he now becomes the king of England and Scotland, okay, and Ireland too. This man, King James. So you got his whole family background, as much of it as you can. You see how the whole thing played out. All of these people know each other. All of these people are being bred in the kingdom and trained from when they're little that you're royalty. Soon all this is going to be yours, like the Lion King. King James takes the throne, and there was a big storm in 1590, a huge storm. And this storm almost shipwrecked him and his wife, who he was traveling over to Scotland to meet his wife, right? Queen Anne of Denmark. They were in a violent storm. He was convinced witches did it. See, Scotland was starting to have a witchcraft craze, paranoia, and he's in Scotland, right? So he's getting worked up in the witchcraft witch craze, and he brings it to England, to England and Ireland. And because now he's king in England, and he's paranoid because this big storm happened, and he's convinced that witches can control the weather, which is true. Yet he's convinced that the witches are out to kill him and his beloved, and that witches are out to destroy the monarchy, and that he's got to stamp out all the witches because they made pacts with the devil. This is conjured in his mind. I don't know one witch that has anything to do with the devil. We don't even believe in devils. We don't. Witches don't believe in a devil. He made it up. He was afraid of storms. This man became paranoid. This man was responsible for fanning the flames of the witch craze through Scotland to England and Ireland, and then across the ocean to Salem, to the colonies. Had everybody, witches, 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 the witches are gonna get us. The witches are gonna kill us. Now, I have a question for you. I have a question for you. Let me ask you this. Is this the man you want to create a Bible for you? It's just a question. Is this a man that you want to create a Bible? Out of all the craziness that this quote unquote quote royal family was into, swinging back and forth from Protestant to Catholic like a pendulum, almost like an axe, chopping heads and killing thousands of people. This is the milieu, this is the womb from which the King James version of the Bible was born. Is that a Bible? I don't think I want anything to do with that Bible. Now I do have a King James version Bible. It's a bad Bible. It's a very bad Bible. And we haven't even gotten into the facts of why it's a bad Bible. I wanted to first paint the picture of the goings on of King James and what his life was like, and why this man is so obsessed with witches, and why he decides that he's going to create a Bible. He's going to get a Bible created and all of that. Okay. Oh, King Henry or King James? Okay. So King James was the one that was obsessed with the witches. King Henry VIII wasn't obsessed with witches. King Henry VIII was obsessed with women. He had so many women. He had 6 wives. He was obsessed with women. King James, who was not an heir of King Henry, King James was an heir of King Henry VII, who was King Henry VIII's father. So King Henry VII is a common ancestor of both King Henry VIII, who got rid of Catholicism. See, the sweeping changes that King Henry VIII made in England set the stage for King James to do what he did. Okay? So we've got to understand history to understand the Bible. Is this sounding kind of crazy, family? Is this sounding crazy? Or is this, give me some feedback. Is this making sense? All of the presidents are related except Trump. Interesting. This is why Obama is light complected. Majority of presidents are related from the same bloodline. Y'all know. Y'all know the deal. I'm talking to the right people. Come on, memberships. Yay! Money in the vortex, money in the vortex, money in the vortex. Look, I got my bell. Hold on. Let me get my bell. Because we haven't had our ringing of our bell lately. Where's my bell? Is it here? Yes. See, I'm traveling. I brought my bell with me. Money in the vortex, baby, members. Hello, so y'all can get that book, because all of this is in my book. The real God is not in the Bible. The King James version of the Bible is not about God, nor is any Bible. The book is a gift for all members, and the book it's currently on ebook, and I'm completing it for the Kickstarter, where you will be able to get special edition paperbacks and hardcovers later this year. Okay. Now, let's go further. King James, when he takes the throne in England after Queen Elizabeth, and he's just obsessed with these witches, right? Obsessed with the witches. A few years after that, in 1590 was the big storm. He was like, the witches are trying to kill me. The witches are trying to destroy the monarchy. The witches are trying to kill us all. The witches are in league with the devil. That's where we get it from. We don't have any concept of witches being in league with the devil before King James. This absolutely obsessed, paranoid powermonger of a king made up some crazy shit in his mind, wrote it down in a book called Demonology, where he outlined all from his big old head. Or to be a member, click join under the video. From his big old head, he imagined it. He said the witches are in league with the devil. And he wrote it all out in a book called Demonology. Now let's see when he now said, I want the King James Version of the Bible created. Let's see when he did that. Let's go to it. Let's go to the exact dates. And how did King James had six wives? No, King Henry the Eighth had six wives. King James did not have six wives. They say King James may have been gay, according to some of you all in the chat. King James did have one wife that I know of, that he was very let me close this, that he was very, they say that he loved very much, and that was Queen Queen Anne of Scots, Queen Mary. No. Let me get the correct name. Let me get the correct name of this, of his. Let's get the correct name. Queen Anne of Denmark. That was King James' love, according to some, but he could have been both ways. He could have had his wife and he could have had some men too. I mean, hey, it's whatever you want to do. Make it good. Now, King James in 1597. Now, this is 7 years after the big storm, right? Oh my goodness, they're trying to kill us. And the witch craze is just going now. It's going through Scotland, England, Ireland, just everybody's witches, 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 witches. Okay, so of course we've got a lot of witchcraft trials, witch hunts, and all that in the 16th and 17th century. Everybody knows about that. Well, he writes a treatise called Demonology, and this is where he outlines, you can read it, probably read it free online. This is where he's outlining all the way, this is where he's putting his very scary, paranoid, terrifying thoughts on paper. What could be worse than that? What's worse than just having terrified, paranoid thoughts is putting them on paper and disseminating them to all your subjects. Oh my God, these people are just nuts. Just nuts. And do you see the power that one person would have to do craziness? Okay. Now, before we go into the King James Version of the Bible and why it's a bad Bible, I want you to pick up The Real God Is Not in the Bible. You get a copy as a gift, as an ebook, if you become a member on the channel. It's joined under this video, under every video. And thank you, members of the channel. You are amazing. You support the channel. Yay! You're amazing. If you're watching and you're not subscribed, I'm going to haunt you in your dreams tonight. Don't play. I'm a witch. I'm coming for you. Just tap that little subscribe button. That's all you got to do. We're going to be friends. Okay. I want you to also know that the book is coming in paperback and hardcover on Kickstarter later this year when I complete it, because right now I do updates to the book regularly for those who have the ebook version, because we update both the Amazon ebook version and if you buy the ebook on my website, we update the ebook version as we go. So that's why it's not in print yet, because I can update the ebook, but once it's in print, I can't update a print book, right? Ebook, I can update it. Everybody has the newest update. I cannot do that in print. So because I'm still adding to this book, I've got to finish everything that I'm going to add to it, all my research notes and everything. And then the book will come out. It's still being created. It's still being added upon all the time, all the time. So if you have it and you have a book that has less than 56 chapters, you're going to get an update soon. Okay, if you have the ebook. If you bought it or you got it as a member gift, doesn't matter. If you bought it from my website, if you bought it on Amazon, if you got it as a member, we're going to update the ebook for you. That's good. We've already updated the ebook a couple of times, but once it goes into print, that's final. So we're going to have some beautiful paperbacks. It's not going to be available on Amazon, only Kickstarter first, and then probably 6 months later you can get it on Amazon. So we're going to have the paperback and we're going to have the hardcover available to you, special edition hardcovers also available on Kickstarter later this year. That's going to be so yummy. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. And I also want you to know that if you do have any of the books, please leave a review. If you have How to Be a Christian Witch, please leave a review. If you have any of my other books, such as Spell Crafting for the Christian Witch, or Magical Prayers for the Christian Witch, Confessions of a Christian Witch, Witch, and 13 Signs You're a Witch. If you have any of my books, please leave a review. Let us know how you enjoy it. Now, let's get to the King James Version of the Bible and why it's a bad Bible. King James of England commissioned the King James Bible in 1604. So let's follow the dates. 1590, huge storm, witches are to blame, the witches are crazy, witchcraft mania. 1597, he writes, demonology, the witches, the witches, the witches, they're in league with the devil, this is how they do it, blah, 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 blah. He made the whole thing up. Never talked to a witch in his life. I don't even think they really burned witches. I think they burned just a lot of women. They did burn some men too. They burned a lot of people. They burned thousands of people. Some say could have been tens of thousands, could have been hundreds of thousands, could have been million plus people throughout the entire hundreds of years. This went on for centuries, the witchcraft craze. However, in 1604, he's like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have them make me a Bible. This crazy man, this paranoid man, this terrified of witches man, this power monger man, rule of Scotland and England and Ireland, is going to now make a Bible. Oh my God. I need them to make me a Bible. For what? You have an agenda, propaganda. We already know you have an agenda. The word witch did not even exist in the way that King James has it in the Bible. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. That's King James. That's King James. Why did King James want it? What were his reasons? What was his intention for creating the King James Bible? King James Version of the Bible, also known as KJV. Well, he's trying to get everybody together, the Protestants, the Anglicans, the Puritans, Catholics, Church of England. He's like, look, it's going to be one official Bible. Because you had the Tyndale Bible, you had a lot of different things circulating. Of course, you have the Catholic Bible, right? You got a lot of stuff going on. Martin Luther is running around talking about, we're not doing this Catholic thing anymore. Tyndale is running around making his, the Bible, the Tyndale Bible. You got a lot going on. It's a lot of upheaval happening. Witches and religion, and it's a total upheaval. And he's like, I'm going to pull a page out of the Roman Empire. All these people fighting in the kingdom, I'm going to just make one thing the law of the land. Well, the Romans under Constantine made Christianity the law of the land. It's now a law. Everybody got to be Christian. That's it. You're not Christian, off with your head. Well, back then they had a lot of creative. They didn't just chop your head off, because Romans had a lot of creative ways to kill people, and they made you torture for hours and some, horrendous torture for hours, sometimes days before you died. Crucifixion was a long, painful way to die. They say some people would be on the crucifixion cross for like 3 to 7 days, just dying slow, and then the birds come and pluck your eyeballs out. I mean, it's bad. It's very bad. Okay. King James said, I'm going to make one book, and all y'all got to live by this one book, but it's going to have the propaganda in it, because I need y'all to kill the witches, and I need y'all to, right? He also wanted to challenge the Geneva Bible. Why? The Geneva Bible, the Puritans had the Geneva Bible, but in the Geneva Bible, it had something about kings need to be accountable to God. And King James was like, no, divine right of kings. I'm not accountable to nobody. Just like Henry VIII said the same thing. Notice the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Remember, they're from the same ancestor, King Henry VII. So he's like, we're going to get rid of all these other Bibles. Okay. Now, none of this makes it a bad Bible. I'm going to show you in a moment what makes it a bad Bible. None of this makes it a bad Bible. It could have been a good Bible, except it wasn't. All right, he wanted to make sure that the inconsistencies were out. He wanted to be scholarly. He wanted to be accepted by all the different Christianities in England. You know, the Puritan people, the these people, the that people. Everybody agree on this Bible. And he wanted, of course, power. Because what better way to have power unchecked over all the people in all the religions than if you have a book that's the Bible named for you? Power grab. I can't, you know what? I give him props for being the power monger, the power broker of the 1600s. I give him props. I mean, it was a brilliant idea, it was a stroke of genius. I'm going to have them name a Bible after me. Then I can reach into the future and control all those people too. King James was controlling our grandmothers. And we think King James, oh, some old person, he was back there. He doesn't have anything to do with now. Do you understand that history has a lot to do with what you do now? History has a lot to do. History has a lot to do with what people think with regard to religion, and they didn't make up their own minds about what they thought. They just inherited whatever the people gave them from hundreds of years ago, from thousands of years ago. Wow. Okay, now we're going to get into the facts of what makes the King James bad, because he got the translation, he got 47 scholars. He got scholars from Oxford, Cambridge, Westminster. He got the scholars. But guess what? He told the scholars, now listen. Remember, back in those days, if the king was telling you to do something, if you painted a portrait of the king and he didn't like it, you know how King Henry VIII, he had all these portraits painted of him. They made him look very sexy and hot and handsome and, virile. And this man was overweight, sickly, gout, couldn't barely walk. Do you think that we're going to put that on a painting of the king? You made it better make the king look like a king. I'll chop your head off. So you better make this Bible the way I need it to look for the Church of England and that I'm the ruler of the whole damn thing. You better make it look right and make the witches look bad. Because I need this Bible to say what I want it to say. Because all these people are going to be using this Bible. And then he was going to send it across the ocean to the colonies too. Oh my goodness. And then America got it. Well, it wasn't America when they first got it. It became America later. And they had the same bad Bible. He made sure of that. Okay, but why is it a bad Bible? Why do I keep saying it's a bad Bible? And I didn't tell you yet what makes it a bad Bible. His bad attitude didn't make it a bad Bible. The fact that he's a power monger didn't make it a bad Bible. The fact that he is wanting a Bible according to his agenda and propaganda doesn't make it bad, because maybe the people weren't going to do a propaganda Bible. The fact that his ancestors and his family, whole family lineage, and all this Church of England stuff was just so. I think Queen Elizabeth was the only one that we can say, okay, she was probably a great monarch. The rest of them, well, King Edward, what could he do? He was a kid and he died early. Queen Mary, killing thousands of people. This woman is Bloody Mary. um, King Henry killing thousands of people, King James killing thousands of people. Do you understand that these people have it in their DNA to kill people? But that doesn't make it a bad Bible. What does make it a bad Bible? Because the King James Version is based on Textus Receptus, which is a Greek New Testament by Erasmus. The Hebrew Bible was based on the Masoretic text from the Masoretic Hebrew scholars who did that around the 10th, 11th century CE, not BCE, CE. It's fairly new. The New Testament, however, Textus Receptus, full of errors. It was rushed. It was created by Erasmus. And it did not use the earliest known manuscripts. Why? Because they didn't have them. They didn't have the oldest manuscripts. And I'm going to show you the oldest Bibles in the world. They didn't have them. All they had were these manuscripts from the 12th and 15th centuries that were circulating around. And why was Textus Receptus so widespread. It was very widespread. Why was it widespread? Because it was in print, and all the other ones were handwritten. Remember, we had the printing press. And so, if you care to know, these are what Erasmus used to create Textus Receptus. Textus Receptus is a version of the Bible that is faulty, that has errors, that is different from the older versions that we have of the Bible. And this is what the King James Version Bible is built on. And you might wonder, well, what's the difference? A whole lot of differences. Oh my God. I'll give you a few. I'll just give you a few. Remember the woman that committed adultery that they caught in the act and they brought her out in front of Jesus? And Jesus, wrote something on the ground. It never happened. That's not it. That's not in any old manuscripts of the Bible. And one of the oldest manuscripts of the Bible that we have access to, Codex Alexandrinus. Well, first Codex Sinaiticus. Codex Alexandrinus is four of them. Codex Vaticanus and Codex Ephraemi Rescriptus. It's four. These four are considered the oldest Bibles, and I laid my peepers on them. Two of them. One is in the Vatican, as you can imagine. Codex Vaticanus is in the Vatican. So they couldn't get that one because the Vatican had that on lockdown. And they couldn't get the other ones because they didn't have them. They didn't have access to them. I saw Codex Alexandrinus. And if you have never seen Codex Sinaiticus and Codex Alexandrinus, I will put them before your eyes right now. Here is Codex Alexandrinus, one of the oldest Bibles in the world. That's Codex Alexandrinus, written in Greek. Let's go to Codex Sinaiticus. Codex Sinaiticus. That's it. Where are they? Codex Sinaiticus and Codex Alexandrinus are in the British Library. I went to see them myself. I took these pictures myself. This is me in the British Library, taking pictures myself, and I took pictures of an Ethiopian Bible, which many people say, well, the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest Bible. Maybe, maybe not. We'll go into that in another conversation. This is the Octateuch. Have you ever heard of the Octateuch? And look at, this is the opening of the gospel and the gospels. And this is Matthew and Mark. And you see they look African. They look Ethiopian. This is the Octateuch. What is the Octateuch? The Octateuch is, I'll show it to you. Octateuch and Four Gospels. This is an illustrated manuscript. It contains the Octateuch, which are the first 8 books of the Old Testament, the Four Gospels, and several canons of church councils. This is an Ethiopian. This was commissioned by the Ethiopian Emperor Ieyasu. I hope I'm saying his name right, who reigned from 1682 to 1706. And notes in the manuscript suggest it was produced for the church by Deborah Burhan Selassie, Haile Selassie's probably a relative of Haile Selassie, one of Ethiopia's most important churches. The manuscript is written in Ge'ez, or classical Ethiopic, in a small, elegant script. It's a beautiful Bible. The lavish decorations include embellished borders. It's got gold, it's intricate designs, and numerous text illustrations in bold colors. The coloring is gorgeous. Like the Ethiopian Bible is fully illustrated. Its original binding of stamped leather-covered wood is lined with silk. The opening shows the evangelists, St. Matthew and St. Mark. That is a portion. It's not the whole Ethiopian Bible. It's a portion of the Ethiopian Bible called the Octateuch and the Four Gospels, with illustrations of St. Matthew and St. Mark. Is that not beautiful? Look at the work done by hand of the Ethiopian Bible. This is just a portion of the Ethiopian Bible, but the part that I want you to really focus on is that Codex Alexandrinus, Codex Sinaiticus, this one, and Codex Alexandrinus are older than the source text for the King James Version. And the source text for the King James Version is faulty. It's got a lot of errors. It was rushed because they didn't have these older Bibles that were more accurate to create the King James Version Bible from. Therefore, we got these differences. So the woman committing adultery, I'll show you the scripture. You can look it up on Bible Gateway. You can see the difference. You don't even have to believe me at all. Please don't believe me. Look at it yourself. Let's go to King James Version of the Bible, John chapter 7. Let's go to John chapter 7, verse 53. And here, what do you see? And every man went unto his own house. And then let's go to chapter 8. Chapter 8. Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again unto the temple, and all the people came unto him. And he said, scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. In other words, they found her actually sexing somebody that wasn't her husband. Ooh, she was having a good time. Now, Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what saith thou? This they said, tempting him that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And he again stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went one by one, beginning at the eldest, even to the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had lifted himself up and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, were all those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Well, they made that up. Why? Because the older versions of the Bible don't have it. So let's go. That's King James we're reading from. Let's go. All you got to do is read the Bible. Let's go to a Bible that is not a bad Bible, like let's go to the NRSV, New Revised Standard Version. New Revised Standard Version, NSRV. Let's go to the NSRV. I'm going to do another one, that New Revised Standard Version, that gives you the best Bibles and the worst Bibles. Because people ask me that all the time. What's the best Bible? Go down to chapter 7. Oh, let's go to one that doesn't have it. Let me go back. I'm going to show you a Bible that does not have it. An older versions of this story. Let's go. Let's go back again. NIV. NIV doesn't have it. A lot of people like NIV. Go to, go ahead. We're in the NIV. John chapter 7, verse 53 is not there. And they have a note that says, the earliest manuscripts and many other ancient witnesses do not have John chapter 7, verse 53 to chapter 8, verse 11. Somebody added it later. We don't know who. I'm not opposed to them adding it later. They can add anything to this book because I know this book is not from God. So I don't mind people embellishing as we go. I don't see that as a problem. Now, if you're in church, you might see that as a big problem because you don't want people just going in and adding stories to the Bible. That's not in there. Okay, let's look at what else is not in there. And you can look at these all up on your own. I just wanted to give you a few differences. No doxology at the end of the Lord's Prayer. What is a doxology? Doxa means praise or devotion. Logia means word. So like a word of praise, devotion. At the end of the Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6:13, and thine is the kingdom and the glory, the power and the glory forever. Amen. Nope, somebody added that. That's not in the early versions. Going all the way back to the 300s. That's the earliest ones we have in the 300s. Of course, there's older manuscripts than that. I'm talking about whole Bibles, right? New Testament and Old Testament, the older Bibles. Now, we do have manuscripts that are super old that go all the way back to maybe first, second century, but I'm talking about Bibles. It's not in there. It's not in there. Man shall not live by bread alone. Luke 4:4. They added, but by every utterance of the Lord's mouth. That's not in the original. Trinity, not original. 1 John 5:7-8, not in there. 1 Timothy 3:16, God was manifested in the flesh. Nope, doesn't say that. It said he was manifested in the flesh. Didn't say God was manifested in the flesh. Wow, this changes a lot. The longer ending of Mark. Bible scholars talk about the longer ending of Mark and go on and on and on about this because the longer ending of Mark, someone added later to prop up the resurrection story. Wasn't there originally. Revelation 22:19, God shall take away his part from the book of life. You should read Tree of Life. The scribe made an error. It's a whole lot more than I can put into one live stream. Okay, let's come off screen share. I'm going to give you my conclusions. Here we go. King James is a bad Bible. I'm not saying get rid of it. How you like this, Unique Organics Hair Care? How you like this? I'm not saying don't read it. I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm not saying burn it. I don't believe in burning books. I love all the books. I'm saying study to show thyself approved and look at where these books came from, who created them, who had a hand in their production, what were their motives, what did they want you to believe, and how much is still affecting us to this day. King James still lives to this day based on what this crazy, obsessed, paranoid man did hundreds of years ago. That's how you leave a legacy, but what kind of legacy is that? It's not a legacy of truth and uprightness and for the people, right? For the people. It's not that kind of legacy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There are so many incredible comments in here. I got to get to all these comments later on, but you can super chat your comments if you need to. Now, family, can you understand that God never said, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live? King James invented that and put it in his Bible. Can you understand that God never said anything about witches being in concert with the devil? That came out of the twisted mind of King James. Can you understand that God never said, make another Bible? God never told anyone to make another Bible. That, once again, came out of the twisted mind of a human. I love the Bible. I love it so much that I go all around the world. I got to see these Bibles for myself. Trust me, when I go to the Vatican, I'm going to see if I can take a peek at. I've been to the Vatican twice. I'm going to see if I can take a peek at Codex Kindness. Vaticanite. Good Lord, how do you say this book? Codex Vaticaninus. Whatever. It's the one that's in the Vatican, okay? I want to take a look at it myself. Now, I know you can't look at the original one because, they have that under lock and key and only certain people can see it. I'm just wondering if they have some reproductions, if they had some versions of it online that lay people can read, because I'm a lay person. I'm not a Bible scholar. Let me tell you, baby, I read books. I read the Bible. And you're never going to be able to convince me that the Bible is from God. It's not. I love you. I'll see you next Wednesday. I may still be traveling. I am in Tulum, Mexico. I love you. I honor you for being in this whole entire experience with us on this incredible journey of finding out about the origins of the Bible, the origins of humanity, Anunnaki, the ancient mysteries, occult wisdom, and it's just not being taught in church. What I teach, they will never teach it to you in church because you'll be too empowered and you won't need them anymore. Well, peace. Kaisi out. I love you. I love you.